Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Fresh Takes Gaming Podcast, episode 32, the video game podcast that brings you fresh takes on the video game industry news. If you'd like to submit your topic for the show, you can send us a tweet at Fresh Takes Pod on Twitter. I am your host, Evan, joined by my co-host, Nick.
What's up, everybody?
Not much, man. Not much. Tonight, we have a very special guest. Luke is with us from Glimesh, the CEO, head developer, owner, all that stuff. Yeah. Okay, fantastic. All those things, right? So we will get to him in just a few moments. But right now, just to give you a few updates, we are still doing our 100 subscriber giveaway on our YouTube channel. So if you go to bit.ly/watchftg, you will be directed to that channel. Because we haven't hit 100 subs, we don't have a vanity link yet. That's the whole goal of hitting the 100 subs. Because right now it is straight up youtube.com/c/. So that's exactly it. So head over there, throw a subscribe our way so we can get that nice vanity link so you can find us even easier in the algorithm. So that's
But what do they win if they hop into the initial subscribers?
So yes, there is a 100 subscriber video. If you comment and subscribe on that, well, subscribe to the channel, comment on that specific video, there's some sweet stuff coming your way. There's some Fresh Takes Gaming swag. That could be t-shirts, stickers, a hat, anything we decide to give you. It won't be garbage, I promise you. It won't be like
I found this on the floorboard of my car.
Right, exactly. Also, our lovely sponsor, which we will talk about in a moment, Chubby Chow, is throwing down some premium poundage of coffee into the mix for this giveaway. And we also have some Steam game codes we will also be throwing in as well.
Oh, snap.
So, why not? Just comment on the video, bro. I mean, I don't know, it might seem kind of rigged if you end up winning, but I don't know. But yeah, anyway, so head on over to our YouTube channel, check out the 100 subscriber video, comment on it, subscribe to the channel, and hopefully you'll win. Moving on, this episode of Fresh Takes Gaming is sponsored proudly by Chubby Chow. Yes, Chubby Chow, specialty coffee without the man bun. Handcrafted coffee using cast iron Dutch ovens and stirred by the caffeinated hands of their staff. All blends are made using organic beans and U.S. distribution systems to ensure the highest quality for all steps in the process. Veteran owned and operated, we know how much a good cup of coffee can make a difference in your day. Check them out at chubbychow.com and follow them on social at chubbychowmob to join the crew. Also, for our listeners and viewers, use code FTG at checkout for 20% off your order. End ad read. Now let's get to the meat and potatoes of this. Again, we are welcoming Glimesh CEO Luke Strickland to the Fresh Takes Gaming Podcast. Thank you, Luke. Welcome.
Thank you.
You must be some sort of masochist for choosing to spend part of your weekend evening with us, but we appreciate you taking the time.
It was the bribe that did it.
I mean, hey, man, money exchanges hands in weird ways, you know?
Under the table, above the table.
Sure.
Some people call it bribes, other people call it incentive. You know, it
Right.
depends on how you look at it.
And, yeah, you got to incentivize things anymore, right? That's the whole thing. But anyway, thank you for coming. Can just real quick give us a little background on what Glimesh is?
Sure. So Glimesh is a brand new streaming platform, and we are really focused around being open and transparent with our community. And we even take that a step further, and we're actually built by the community. We're fully open source. We're transparent with our financials, with our planning, with our business deals. All of that's kind of open and available, and we're delivering instant real-time streaming to everyone. So we're really excited to kind of get going here and hopefully launch before the end of 2020.
When you say instant, how instant?
It's as fast as this Discord call.
Oh, that's pretty instant.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty instant. Okay, that's
So
fantastic.
Are you guys going to be trying to launch in 720p or like 1020?
No.
Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, we're looking for basically the plan right now is source. So whatever you're streaming at, 1080p, 60 FPS, 720, whatever you happen to be streaming at, would be what's available by default. And then we are trying to get transcoding to 480 for our mobile users to be able to still enjoy your stream without having to charge you for that or charge the viewer for that.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Cool.
So we have a handful of questions we've already kind of massaged, but we're just going to kind of try to let the conversation go as naturally as possible. But Nick, do you want to kind of lead the charge on this for right now? And maybe I'll hop in wherever.
Remember what I wrote. None of this is staged. Don't look behind the curtain. So I was creeping on you on LinkedIn a little bit because I was trying to, because my thing is like we can rehash all the kind of same questions that you've already done in your other podcasts that you've done and all the FAQs on the site and stuff like that. There's certain things that I kind of want to know just from a creative kind of director position of like where you're coming from, you know. And one of the things that popped out at me is that you were on a board of you're a board member for Makerspace. And I just kind of wanted to see in that time when you're working with so many people, especially you were talking about open source with Glimesh and how the community is really driving that same kind of thing with Makerspace. When those are, what kind of assets are you bringing from your board position member over to, your Discord and with those business meetings, or any of those kind of transferable, I guess, skills?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really great question. I think it's the basis of kind of who I am and who I aspire to be as a person. Just being upfront, honest, and clear with everyone really kind of aligns with all of my business goals. So the Dallas Makerspace is a great question because they're actually a 501(c) nonprofit. So it's a membership based nonprofit. So you pay for access to the building and the tools and all that kind of stuff. And they're one of the largest makerspaces in the United States. So they've got about 2,000 members, or they did at the time when I was a board member, about 2,000 members, each paying dues each month. And the unique thing about them is they took the transparency that's required with running a nonprofit, and they took it, as many steps further as they could, so all of the meetings had minutes that were open and available to all. The meetings were streamed on any kind of streaming website where you can get that out to the audience. Anytime there's a private discussion, there was always minutes of that were published after the fact. And then anytime it was something sensitive, right, you have to redact it to protect the privacy of the individual, but you still have to publish that thing happened, right, that event happened. Yep. And, that, of course, is as simple as a meeting that happens, but it's also as complicated as the financials. For the Dallas Makerspace, you can investigate where every single literal penny was spent, where your dues went and what was purchased. And, as a member, you were deserved that right. And so that really kind of, for me, being a board member, I was voted in by the people, which I think a really nifty system for a nonprofit to do. But I was voted in, and really that experience taught me how important it is to really make information available, because there are people who care. There are people who want to read and see that what you're doing is genuine. And the easiest way you can do that is just to be transparent by default, right? Just do it by default, and then everything else will be easier.
Nice. That's really awesome, man. I dig that.
Yeah.
I could see that kind of bleeding over. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think the other topic there is the people aspect, right? Because traditional companies, not 501(c) member-run nonprofits. Traditional companies, you kind of interact with your up and your down and your peers, right? So you interact with a couple of people, a countable number of people, and you have to be super professional, right? At work, at your workplace, you got to make sure you keep it nice and civil. You got to make sure that you're never, you never.
Some places.
Okay, well, corporate America, right? You have to maintain this level of like not decency, but just this image of yourself, right? You have to make sure that people trust and respect you in certain regards. And the makerspace, since it was member run and there were a lot of people there, 2,000 people who all interacted on a daily basis. Of course, that just flew out the window. Decency towards your fellow human is like, I don't know what that means. I don't even know what that word means. And so it's like herding cats, right? They all want to do their own thing. They all want to run in their own direction, but you love them all the same, right? You love all your cats the same, or most of them.
So with that kind of like lack of restriction of your personality and kind of like stuffing on that, with the volunteerism and what you're seeing with Glimesh and what you're seeing with the makerspace, do you see that freedom kind of allows for more? Because a lot of people say that adversity makes for invention, right? So do you see that some of that adversity that comes about with having that much freedom kind of raises you guys up as a whole, kind of the mission?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think like diversity is key. You want diversity of people, of ideas, of experiences. And your corporate structure, you don't always get that, maybe because of hiring decisions or because of power decisions, right? Where, if your boss says something and they say it as a matter of a fact in a meeting, you kind of go along with it, where you maybe have a different opinion or a better idea. So to your point, at Glimesh, right, there's no boss, there's no there's no person that you have to listen to, because you can't be fired, you can't be removed from your position because of it. Same was true at the makerspace, and so it allows these ideas to kind of come and flourish where they maybe wouldn't have flourished before, and it also gives people a chance to defend their ideas too, and a maybe more equal perspective, right? Instead of it being a power dynamic, it's just you and the other person and your two ideas.
That's dope, man.
Yeah,
that is really awesome. Do you think that level of transparency or your experience in the makerspace is what led you to have these public staff meetings on YouTube?
Yes. Yeah, I think I was directly inspired by the way we ran our board meetings there, to have public staff meetings where everyone can come and attend, everyone can kind of have their voice be heard, while still maintaining an agenda, right? While still maintaining a very strict direction of the conversation. You can't just come and air your grievances. You have to kind of stay on topic, but you're invited to give your opinion. You're invited to have a say.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's way cool. So a little bit later on, kind of in your career, it was saying that you were working and assisting with constructing or operating, at least, e-commerce websites. What are some of those takeaways from your time doing that with iMart? What kind of transferred over to what you're doing at Glimesh now?
Yeah, I would say iMart was what kind of taught me best practices for software development, as well as interacting with people. But the software development piece is really what kind of came out of that, because I joined as a software engineer, and I stayed at that job for actually about 7 years. And through those 7 years, I grew from a software engineer to a senior software engineer. And that kind of taught me the importance of the customer, the importance of the human at the end of the money tree, right at the end of the dollar, because that's kind of often underrepresented. I think, when you're selling T-shirts online, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's kind of just a T-shirt, right? Like at the end of the day, it's a T-shirt, and you can get another one somewhere else, and it's fine. But when you're dealing with eyeglasses, which is what we did at iMart, eyeglasses are essential, right? If you don't have eyeglasses and you need eyeglasses or contact lenses or similar, you can't see. You can't.
It's kind of important.
You can't, right? You
just
can't
a little
see.
bit.
And iMart's philosophy was to be the one of the cheapest fair eyewear providers in the U.S. And so it kind of gave me that idea that, hey, these customers really need our service. They really need what we're doing, and we have to make sure that we're giving them, in our case, our customers are the store employees, right, who are trying to help those customers out. We need to make sure that we give those employees the best possible experience. And then for the e-commerce perspective, right, it's just about translating that in the same way directly to the customer, making sure that they can check out online pretty easily, that they don't have any kind of errors that they're not expecting. And then also that their security and their privacy is respected, right? Because glasses are actually HIPAA data. They're medical data about you, and that's your right. You're allowed to keep that. So we had to make sure that we were respecting that, especially as software engineers, because all that data is funneling through the system. And so being able to keep it in the right controlled areas and have data restrictions really helps me now with Glimesh, because it's the same premise,
same kind
right?
of deal. Like you're protecting the streamers' kind of information, all that, and the people that might be making donos or whatever.
Yeah,
Really cool.
exactly. Because I mean, imagine a streamer's real address, right? What they fill out on their tax form is leaked to the public, right? That's worst case scenario. Same thing with any user on the platform. And so we have to make sure that we're treating their data with the respect that it deserves.
Yep. So.
That's great. Yeah. And as far as the security and best practices, is that what led, I mean, at least from my experience, most services that are up and coming or just starting out usually don't have any multi-factor or 2FA enabled like out the gate pretty much. Is their experience with best practices at iMart what led you to really focus on that from the jump?
Yeah, actually, I think the initial philosophy was if you don't store the data, you can't lose the data, right? If you don't, if you don't keep a social security number in your system, you can never leak it because you don't have it.
Sure.
And so that drove, strategic partnerships with Stripe, for example, because then that removes that social security number away from us and into Stripe, which is a multinational, like global, widely known and security approved vendor who does all those things right. And I think where we do have data, it's your email address, it's your username, eventually it's your stream information, it's chat messages that you've sent. And so having two-factor authentication in the beginning helps to almost enforce that level of security from the start. I think to your point, it helps you also keep that philosophy in mind of, hey, this isn't to be taken for granted. We have to make sure that we're storing this correctly, we're logging in the user correctly, and that we're kind of protecting them like we're supposed to.
True. That's awesome. That's great.
Now, just kind of a side question. Do you think that this is going to kind of drive, like Twitch, you have a lot of younger people, right? You've got a lot of like teenagers and prepubescent little bastards that are on there talking smack in chat. Do you think that is going to, because of the requirements of like two-factor authentication and things like that, kind of like the higher brow getting into being able to be a part of the chats or streaming on that service, do you see that that's going to kind of drive the I don't want to say quality, but like the seriousness of intent? Do you think that that's going to kind of affect your audience base and your streamer base and people that are actually showing up to participate in your service?
Yeah, I hope that Glimesh can be a service that helps people understand just how important their data is, right? Just how important their person and their personal data is, because I think the younger generation, even up in my generation, it's always the answer to, do you care that Facebook tracks everything you do on every website? It's generally no, I don't care about that. Why would I care about that? In reality, it's more than that, right? It's more about them just tracking everything you do. It's about them tracking everything that you do to form this personality of who you are, and then using that to then coerce you into buying other products or services. So I think to your point, I think that we can teach younger generations about these good privacy ways of thinking, and we can also help them understand security and how they should be not using the same password for every site, how they should not use lemon lover 42 as their password for their bank account, right? Those kind of things that's what's going to get all your money stolen. And so if we can say, hey, we're just a streaming site, but we collect a lot of personal data about you, we collect some financial data about you, you want to protect that and then help them get the tools that they need to do that. I think we're making a step in the right direction.
Michael,
if that's your password, you might want to change it. It's gone.
Lemon Lover 42. Oh, it's time for password change. Yeah. Lemon Lover 43. I'm tricking them.
That works for a while.
Yeah, literally. I work in IT, as I think you both kind of know, and user passwords is one of the most crucial things, and it's ridiculous some of the passwords that methods, we've talked to users about what they use. Like their kids' names. Well, that's kind of easy data, for someone to find out that was nefarious. So one guy in protest literally just went down one day, held down the shift key on his keyboard, and went across the whole top row of the number keys on his keyboard. So it was all just special characters. And I was like, wow. I was like, that's a good password. I mean, your method was very easy, but it's all special characters. I can't complain about that, but it's just
not super repeatable though.
No, definitely not. I'm like, you're not going to use that one again or alter one character. There's no way, man. You're going to keep up with that.
I think the surprising thing too is
you don't know the 4th, the 6th. You don't know.
It's always the CEO too, isn't it? It's always the CEO that has the worst password. It's like keys to the kingdom. And
I'm waiting for the no comment.
I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything. Not saying a word about that.
Silence is louder than words.
Yes, very true. Very true. But yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, the whole security thing. That I think that's one thing when I created my my Glimesh account, and I saw that, as you all know, I'm part of the Discord. I've let some of my Glimesh bias show on the last episode a little bit, but that was something that kind of struck home to me. That like, okay, these guys are serious. Not that I didn't think you were serious before, based on the conversations in the Discord, but once I saw 2FA on the site, I was like, oh, okay, these are legit people that have our data, at heart and the protection of it. Yeah. So that was
actually
awesome.
The interesting thing there is that was actually a volunteer contribution. So, we did rank it very highly on the priorities list. And it was something that we declared that we wanted before launch, but we didn't know how early it was going to happen, right? Because we just have to dedicate the right amount of time to it. And a volunteer saw it, loved it, wanted to work on it, implemented it, and now we have it, right? And it was kind of just that easy. And I think to that point, it's really important to, prioritize on what your objectives are, because then it helps you give a very clear, roadmap for your team or your volunteers or whoever it is to know what they can be working on, what they can be doing. And I think that goes back to the makerspace conversation a little bit, because, with 2,000 members, right, I think really only 5%, if not less, actually choose to volunteer. And the way the system ran is, you were sweeping the floors. Like if there was a mess on the floor, it was your responsibility as a member to sweep the floor up. And imagine only 5% of the population doing that, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you do have a 5% population who wants to volunteer, giving them the right direction, right? Giving them a broom, showing them where the brooms are, really helps to make their jobs easier. They don't have to worry about it. Making sure that they have the tools that they need to succeed helps you and your business, right? Helps you and your initiative.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Let's see what else here. I'm just scrolling down here on some of the notes. Oh man.
Yeah, so I hopped on the Discord and I was getting into it, and then I ended up I felt really bad, and I should be getting on there here pretty quick. I ended up kind of taking care of some of the other stuff that I needed to, but I got hit with food poisoning. So it was like 2 days, dude. I wanted to die. It was so bad. I was like, I promised Bob that I was going to join this Discord. And I was like, I'm here, but I'm going to go back to bed. I literally sent that and put the phone down and went back to sleep. I was out for another 7 hours. I was dying, man.
Yeah. Some bad shrimp, right?
Shrimp.
Yep.
Yeah. Shrimp got me. Uppercutted me.
It's no good,
It's always
man.
chicken for me. It's always chicken. I've never gotten sick off of seafood, but chicken, somehow, I think I went to Wendy's one time, and that was the end all be all of food poisoning.
Shrimp is usually the big one that gets me. That shrimp, it's almost always. I've never really had a problem with chicken, fish, beef, pork, but yeah, shrimp. It always gets me, and then my fat ass always goes back to it. So.
You have to.
You think I learned?
It's a risk, but you're willing to take it.
That's right. So, I mean, you brought up Wendy's. So, spicy or regular nuggets, bro?
Spicy.
There we go. That's right. Next question.
Okay. Yeah. Big question. This is the big one. It better be the big one. Is it the big one?
Which one?
Was that the big one?
Street Fighter 2.
Oh, that is the so.
That's a big
I'm
question.
I'm gonna fail this question.
So, Nick and I have a ongoing battle, if you will, of discussion. Yes, passionate discussion on which Street Fighter 2 character is better between Ken or Ryu. And we're gonna pose the same question to you.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say who I'm on, whose team I'm on, what camp I'm in.
So here's the thing, I've never played it, but my previous boss at iMart did, and if I remember correctly, he was a Ryu fan because he was always better at him. And my last boss was super competitive, and he couldn't stay losing, so he always picked the character that helped him win.
There it is. There
you go.
So, for the record, Ryu is still garbage, and it is like an emo character that is throwaway. But
this sounds like a discussion. This doesn't sound like anything but a discussion.
Okay, well, that's settled. It looks like Ryu wins. Okay, yeah. There it is. Easy.
Yeah, so, what was your question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, right. Did you want to go ahead with the next one, Nick?
Well, I'm kind of torn on the next one, so I don't want to be putting out where you're. Let's say that
do you want to transition a little bit?
Familiar with Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll put it that way. So Pittsburgh. So there, like I was looking on there, and I'm like, so what is there to do? Because I've never been. I've never been to.
Where are you from?
A whole slew of places that I have been. But I was actually impressed with how much shit there was to do in Pittsburgh. Like I was looking at the aviary, and I was like, man, that is amazing. That looks really pretty. I'd love to go there. Then they had like this beautiful butterfly thing that you could go do. Andy Warhol Museum. Like there's a lot of stuff there. It's one of the older cities. So like, I get it that there's a lot of culture there that you can go do, it's a little more established and a little bit more kind of cool that way. But when you were trying to get away from different aspects of what was going on in your life, if you needed a break, cause everybody has to, like, we all have those like places where you go, or maybe you just go for a drive. Like, where would you suggest somebody that's an out of towner like me go check out if I'm just looking to blow off some steam or just kind of go hang out somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, there's different
spots.
There's different like moods, right? You got to figure out what mood you're in. I would say that if your problem is that you're stressed out and you want a place to relax and to just kind of chill out for a little bit, it's not actually in Pittsburgh. There's a nearby like little tiny town nestled in like the Laurel Highlands, which is apparently like some form of mountain.
Yes.
Mountain system. But there's this place called Ohio Pile. And I don't know how the heck you're supposed to say it. I think when you get a Pittsburgh accent, it becomes Ohio Pile, and it just like flows out like that. And I'm not sure exactly how you
enunciation out the window, man.
It's out the window. But it's this just tiny little city that's pretty darn close. And there's a delicious sandwich shop, which I'd recommend. Probably the best sandwiches I've ever had in my entire lifetime are from there. And it's this huge like waterfall over some natural rocks, and you can do rafting, and then there's like these natural rock water slides that you can do also that like apparently you have to be a larger guy to do, because if you're a small guy like me, you get bruised and lots of pain from the rocks that you're flying into.
You need the cushion. Okay.
So you need the cushion. I would recommend the cushion. And so that's a great way to get away, right? But I think that's not for everyone, right? Not everyone wants to do that. So if you want the true Pittsburgh getaway experience, and it's so stupid, I'm not from Pittsburgh. That's where I moved to. And the first thing people ask you when you come to Pittsburgh is, hey, have you been to Permanis yet?
That's the first question I asked you, bro. I hopped up this was one of the first ones. I was like, have you been to Permanis? Because I used to live near that area.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the first question, and honestly, your answer decides the fate of your friendship with that person.
It's true. People are going to keep talking.
It's true, man.
If you answer it correctly, it's over. I mean, the acceptable answers are yes, it was delicious. No, but I'm going tomorrow. That's good. That's good too. And that's it. So the unacceptable answers are no, I'm not interested in that, or sorry, I'm a vegetarian.
Oof.
Also not
It's always the wrong
acceptable
answer.
in that case.
I'm just playing.
And then yes, I hated it. That would get you sent out of the city.
You'd be exiled. Yeah.
But Permanis is like the perfect getaway for someone who doesn't like nature, because it's what they do is it's a sandwich shop as well, completely different sandwich though. And they take normal French bread or sliced white bread or whatever it is, and they give you whatever kind of meat you're choosing, so you get to pick that option. And then they load it up with, like, I think it's what is it? Is it coleslaw? No, it's the other thing. Can't remember. I think it's just maybe like
I don't know. I've never been.
It's been a long time.
I phoned a friend. It's a coleslaw, so they lather it up with coleslaw, and then they put French fries, and they give you a sandwich. And so the idea is that all their sandwiches have French fries on it, and of course it's a bar, so you can go drink while you do it.
Yeah,
but you have to drink icy light.
I'm hammered.
So.
This is what's gonna. This is doing it.
So
yeah,
that
area. You're talking
area.
about sandwiches and stuff. I still have to eat dinner.
Oh, God.
I'm sitting here going,
Poor guy.
What's amazing is a Reuben. A Reuben.
Oh, there you go.
So
they have a Reuben French fries on it.
Yes, French. That area is notorious for putting French fries on just about everything.
Yeah, steak salads.
Steak salads. Yes, I was going to say there's a place I used to go to that had steak salad that would have like hard-boiled egg, sliced steak, French fries, bucket of ranch dressing. Like it's like the most unhealthy salad you'll ever eat in your life. It's fantastic though. That's attributed to this vessel of health.
But that's the kind. But you have downhill rock sliding.
Yes.
Body. That's the event you're trained for.
Yeah,
That's right.
That's true. That's a good positive.
that is
Honestly,
true.
I can't do the water slide.
Yeah.
The fun thing though is like watching people do it for the first time, because there's two types of people. Of course, there's the people who literally just shotgun it as many times as they can. They go down the water slide and then they walk the half mile back up and then they do it again, and they're just like constantly going on this thing like a giant roller coaster. And then there's those who sit and watch just curiously for about 30 minutes, trying to work up some courage, and then they do it and they just scream all the way down, like at the top of their lungs, because you don't know what's going to happen. Like this is not FDA approved. There's nobody inspected this.
It's not like a Busch Gardens,
It's just rocks, and so
Just
you
rocks.
could hit anything at any time.
Man, yeah, it's crazy stuff, man.
That sounds good though. That sounds like an experience.
Yeah, there's also a flower garden. If neither of those are your taste, there's a big, humongous like greenhouse type thing with a bunch of flowers.
That sounded more like my old broke ass speed right there. Like, let's go sniff some daisies and call it good.
It smells amazing. Yeah.
And then go have a sandwich. It's really not healthy.
There you go. Or you get the sandwich to go and you eat it while you're sniffing the daisies.
While I'm sniffing the daisies, see? There you go. Just gotta hold the
Can you
sandwich
smell
for a
daisies
moment.
over French fries?
Oof, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if you can do that.
It's gangster.
That is. That could be the move. I don't know. Okay, let's. Do we want to get back to Glimesh or get back to more Luke?
It's up to you. It's up to Luke. It's up to the big.
It is up to Luke.
However you kind of want to go. All I
So-
can think about is fucking.
I know-
My podcast?
This is we give you the keys and the car, and you just take off with it, man.
Just leave you guys behind.
There you go. No, but what I was gonna say was, and I know you've said this on other podcasts, but maybe just for our viewers and listeners who may not be familiar with the Hot Fix podcast you were on, and shout out to Brent and Jeremy, good dudes over there.
Great friends.
Great friends. We'll actually probably be talking to them soon through some sort of collaborative means. But co-podcast, it could be. Yes, our powers combined. Podtron, But what are some of the ways you could quickly describe, like, what is going to differentiate Glimesh from the other existing platforms, the purple guys, Twitch, versus some of the other startups that are out there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's the purple guys, the blue guys,
The red guys? Yeah, and then the red guys, which The red guys
Yeah,
had.
does that mean we're Team Yellow? Is that a popular team to be now with
I don't know, man.
Fall Guys out there?
What's really funny is that people at home that are like driving to work can't see the look on my face of complete like lost. Like, I don't know where we are anymore. So just so I'm aware, Team Red is YouTube. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
He's like
Team Blue.
He's like, what?
What's Team Blue?
He's like,
You gotta
Team
guess
Blue.
Team Blue now.
Where did Mixer send everyone?
Team Blue. Twitch is purple, right?
Yep.
Blue is Trovo.
Nope.
That's Team
Bigger.
Green.
Zuckerberg.
Oh, fucking Facebook. Are we actually considering that as an option? I don't realize that was even an option.
Oh, it's an option.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Mixer gave that option to everybody.
It's the only place where you can watch gaming streams and shop for jewelry at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
I know. I know a couple of people that went over there and are actually streaming. They started streaming there before Mixer went down, and I haven't had a chance to really talk to them and engage with them and be like, "Hey, man, like, what's your audience like? Like, how's that rolling? Like, what's up there?"
Yeah.
I just don't see it. I just don't see that as a valid option.
And
that's just me personally. If I'm not trying to shit on you,
right,
that's what
right. And I've seen some people that were former Mixer partners that have gone over there and are doing well. You know, based on some of the people I follow on Twitter that seem to be, actually growing more so there than they did on Mixer.
Is that where Ninja's going now?
Ninja's going back to Twitch, man.
He's on Twitch.
Is, dude.
Yeah.
Getting all that money. Dick.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyways, now that we've established all the players, like,
right.
So what? Team Yellow, is that what we're saying?
I don't know.
Team Yellow is that's a Fall Guys joke. So in Fall Guys,
it is a
there's
Fall
4
Guys.
teams. And apparently everyone hates Team Yellow, which is
Team
ridiculous
Yellow
because they're all equal. They're all equal
right.
teams.
It's just
There's no
Yellow.
difference. Everyone hates
Yellow gets all the hate. It is ridiculous. But yeah, so what is going to differentiate, or things you have planned to differentiate Glimesh from the existing platforms that are widely known?
Yeah. I think there's 2 categories that are some main differences. From a business perspective, we're trying to do things better. We're trying to serve our community to our fullest extent, right? We're trying to make sure that what we're doing with Glimesh is going to be sustainable for us. It's going to be profitable for you. We're going to be clear and transparent about our intentions, about our policies, about everything that we're trying to accomplish. If you're sideswiped by a news post, we've done something wrong, right? It should have been talked about. We should have talked to our streaming council or whoever that may be. We should have got this idea thoroughly vetted before it kind of came into existence. On the product side, though, on the actual streaming side, we're really hoping to really drive home that idea of live streaming, like real time streaming to your audience, because I think what we miss out so frequently in the streaming sites that exist today is that real true element of live. I'm glad that it is such a low latency, but I mean the average on YouTube gaming and Facebook and Twitch, it's pretty slow, right? It can be up to 13 seconds for some stream. You're viewing it, more realistically average about 5 seconds.
Yeah, I think that's actually generous. I've seen some that have been up to 50 seconds behind on Twitch.
Well, right, and it depends on how you're watching it and what streamer it is. And I think what that does is that really puts you in the wrong mindset. That puts you kind of not in a community-driven mindset. You're not there really interacting with chat. You're kind of like responding to them. You're answering the questions almost a minute later. And it's really not suitable, I think, for what we're trying to really encourage here, which is that engagement that you want to get in these online communities. Because I think the funnest thing about really good streams is not only the broadcaster, not only the person who's playing an awesome game or having this awesome talk show or whatever it is, but it's also about the community engagement that you get from that. And that can be the funnest part, right? Some viewer telling a joke in chat that the streamer responds to can often be the funniest part of the entire night, right?
Right.
Yep. Totally agree, man.
And so we want to cultivate that. We want to make that stronger. And I think all of our features kind of align to that philosophy of how do we drive up engagement and how do we make it more than just chat, right? Why are we so limited to the confines of a text box? How do we make this a better experience for all. I think one of the coolest ideas that I've heard, in several months is taking what we know about live game broadcasting, live esport broadcasting, and applying that same philosophy to sports, right? I think it was one of our community members, Paco, who had the idea of, what if I could rebroadcast my local college football game and give play-by-play, commentary on what they're doing, on the moves they're making. I can draw over in real time what the bad things they did were, the good things they did, or what you suggest, and have the chat interact with that on real time, right? Have them say, no, I don't think that play was any good. Maybe if they had gone up to the 20-yard line, blah, 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 this would have been better. And so, unlocking new experiences like that, right? Things that we haven't even thought about doing before is that's what keeps me.
Yeah, that is really cool.
So engagement, right? We want to increase the engagement.
Okay.
Awesome. You mentioned something there in just this response about a council. So that's just kind of make me segue into this next question. I don't know if you're aware. So recently Twitch put out some emotes to celebrate Hispanic and Latinx community. Well, and unfortunately, it was a failure, because it was tone deaf, and offensive, right? As Glimesh gets bigger, does things to promote group, diversity groups, things like that on the platform. Will Glimesh have some sort of committee or focus group to run things by for approval prior to going live with them? And how do you see that process working at scale?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, we do that today with what we do. We always show off ideas and designs before they go live. We rely very heavily on Twitter to kind of put up polls around maybe controversial ideas or initiatives that we're trying to take on. And then we take that a step further. In our terms of service, we're still working on building it. We're still working on creating it. We've taken that a step further and asked for all of our community to give input on it, right? To give their word on the terms of service and how they think it accurately reflects what they're trying to do. And I think the hard part right there is scale, right? That works great at 1,000 people, but at 1 million people, right, at 100,000 people, how the heck do you manage that? You can't have 100,000 people lock. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
So I do think that there's a couple of options there that that we could look at. I think there are really great software avenues out there for getting the user's voice out, right? Getting you can do voting at scale, right?
Yeah,
I love this feature. I hate this feature. But you don't always get with voting. You don't always get right. Sometimes it's good to bounce an idea off quickly, yes or no. But how do you get the feedback about the idea that could help you build the next best idea? So there's still a couple options, right? I think you can form a streamer council or a user council or whatever that looks like of people that represent your brand. And I would really suggest that group be diverse, right? Be different people with different walks of life, with different experiences, because that's what can help you make sure that you're not, insulting a whole culture at one time, right? With what you're pushing out there. And so we would definitely look to do something like that, right? Create that kind of opt-in council. Maybe we run ideas past you ahead of time. Maybe you're invited to beta test some new feature and see how you like it. I think that all kinds of winds up in, an iterative experience, right? We may get it wrong the first time, but we're asking you if this is the right thing to do. We're trying to figure that out.
That's awesome. Let's go. That's good. That's good stuff, man. Other questions? Yeah, anything popping in your mind right now, Nick? I mean, I got a few.
So we're still kind of, it's not too far gone of we made mention of it a little bit earlier about the fallout with Mixer and kind of like just a huge disconnected thing that they had with their user base, of where they just decided that they were going to announce that they were shutting the doors across fucking Twitter instead of actually talking to people and letting everybody know what was going to happen. And you don't have to be a business major to realize that is just not how you do business and how you conduct yourself. But what are some of that aside? What are some of the big takeaways that Glimesh is getting from the whole Mixer experience? Like we're talking about FTL. We're talking about as close to instant streaming as possible, so that we can have the audience engagement that you that we really saw spearheaded by Mixer.
Yeah.
What else are you guys kind of pulling away from them as a learning tool or a learning experience about them?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I think what Mixer really had going for it, which to me was the most surprising thing, is the community. Like on Twitch, it's so large, right? That there's the streaming side as a whole, Twitch, and there's micro communities within Twitch, and you can find a very happy medium inside of a micro community somewhere. You know, the Dark Souls 3 speedrunning community. It's a really fun place to be, right? And it's like 1,000 streamers, right, with like 100,000 viewers, and so there's a lot of people to talk to. There's a lot of people to experience, but it's extremely small. It's in that little group. Mixer somehow from the beginning captured this sense of community where you almost kind of knew everyone. You know, there was a lot of people you didn't know. There's a lot of people new to the site, but when you started to grow and succeed, you saw familiar faces, right, around supporting you, helping you. You saw familiar faces producing content for how you can run your stream better, how you can support yourself better. There was a lot of tools, a lot of bots, a lot of developer tools that could help you be an even better streamer. And I think that is what I would want to take away from that so strongly is that ability, or that need to help each other, right? To be freaking humans that can help and support each other,
right?
Instead of competitive, cutthroat efforts,
Just
you know?
more toxic than Chernobyl chat rooms. So
Right.
do you think that that's maybe a byproduct of having that better interaction capability within the chat that we were talking about earlier, with near instant relationship between the streamer and the chat room, and being able to maybe, do you think that that's what actually was the grounds for forming all those communities so quickly that Mixer had going for it, that Glimesh is also trying to, I don't want to say reproduce, because that you guys aren't, you're making it better. You're making it your own. You're doing your own thing. Capitalize on, I guess, would maybe be a better way to put that.
Yeah, I think, really, I think the chat interaction helps, because that helps you get a connection to the person you're watching a lot closer, a lot tighter, right? And I think by that connection being closer, they're feeling more comfortable with what they're doing. You know, they're feeling like they're saying things and getting immediate feedback. They're closing that loop to be a little bit closer. So I think that helps grow that presence. But then I think Mixer's community took it a step further too. And I don't know exactly what that may have come from, right? I think maybe it could honestly have come from the fact that, you knew the Mixer founders, right? You knew the people who were making it, and they were kind of distant, right? Because they were off doing things, but you knew that it wasn't just some large, hedge funded, conglomerate that was trying to, make a 500x return and profit for their investors, right? For Mixer in the beginning, it was small, nimble, scrappy, servers caught on fire. The community was helping.
Back when it was Beam.
Yeah, when it was Beam.
And I think that probably helped more than anything, right? Starting small and growing was probably Mixer's biggest, competitive advantage. Whereas Twitch, it's already too large, right? It's already too big. So there's really no way in my mind to start increasing that engagement and that kind of community that you can form. Now, I think the question is, when does the community, how long can the community last, right? I think if Mixer had gotten to millions and millions of streamers, it might have been a different situation, but I don't know if we know the answer to that.
I don't know, but I think just as any company, I think we all strive to have that kind of problem. When we're so big that we have to worry about how big we are, I think everybody wants to get to that point. I'm excited about the Glimesh thing. I've made an account for myself, for the team that we made a while ago, that hopefully will be making a reemergence here before long, our company. And I'm really excited about the different kind of things that we might be able to stream on, whether that's like me individually streaming, team streamers, or just like every day-to-day kind of happenings at our company. And I'm really excited about that, because everything that I've seen so far, and I've just been sitting in the back, I've been lurking like a motherfucker. And it just looking at everything, it seems like people really are trying to build each other up, trying to help bolster the community as a whole.
Yeah.
And that's something that always is refreshing for me, because there's so many instances where we can tear each other down, where we can beat each other up and all that. It's really more impressive to me if we can take a couple of seconds and in spite of any differences we might have, how we can make each other better. And
Yeah.
I'm really hoping that you guys, I'm pulling for you, and I'm hoping that I can contribute something, whether that's sarcasm or witty banter, or I'm not so good with the computer stuff, but I'm down to try, man. And I know that I'm trying to follow in Bub's footprints.
Oh, come on, man.
He's really getting balls out there too. So
you just have to make Bub do everything for you. Just really use that relationship to your advantage.
Oh, that's hilarious.
No, I think that's really what I think. If there's one takeaway for, like, if I think I've unlocked one secret, right, through doing this process, it's that if you help your community grow, if you help the streamers grow on the platform, if you help the viewers have a better experience, you also grow. Like there's no reason that I would want to lock away features or articles or tutorials or help or hand holding or professional services or whatever it is. There's no reason I want to hold that away from someone just because they're new, just because they don't have a lot of viewers. Because if that person's successful, if we can give them the tools that they need, the knowledge they need to become more successful, to run their stream better, guess what? They're doing it on Glimesh, right? They're getting new subscribers. They're getting partnerships. They're funding the platform. By them being successful, we are successful.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, man. Circling back to the brief Mixer conversation we had, you touched on what you think Mixer got right. But where do you think Mixer not necessarily failed, but maybe a missed opportunity of the platform that was maybe underutilized or overlooked?
Yeah, I think the hard part about running a business is being given a way out. That's almost the tricky knife, right? Because you get something in return. You get, let's say, money and a sale, but you give up the thing that you've created. And I think the one thing that we can take away from Mixer in the other direction is you have to be sure about what you're doing. You have to be sure about the decisions you're making, because giving away your baby, giving away your child is something that's you can't take back, right? You can't undo. You can't unmake that mistake without a certain amount of investment. And so I think that for me, that's kind of the piece that I would like to avoid, right? I want to make sure that Glimesh is put in an ownership position where decisions like that can't be making. They can't be made lightly. It can't. And I'm not saying Mixer was made lightly. I'm sure it was probably the worst time in several people's lives as they were going through that process.
Yeah.
But making sure that you remember where you came from, you remember why you're doing this, and you really capture onto those moments, I think is what we can learn from that experience. The quick story I have to share there is we actually had a charity stream 2 months ago at this point, and we were looking for charity streamers to host it for us, right? Because I'm not a streamer. You can tell by my camera. I've got terrible equipment all around. I have no interest in streaming personally, but I know that people love streaming, and so we wanted to find a great streamer who could come represent the brand, represent themselves, and raise money for charity. And there was a guy named Icarus who we found and who kind of reached out. And I remember sending him the email, saying, "Hey, we'd like to host our charity event." And then in the dead of the night, sneaking into his Twitch channel and waiting for him to go live because I knew he was going to talk about it. Right. And I was just hiding into the crowd, hiding in the audience. Man. And he comes on the stream and he says, "Guys, I've got awesome news. I've got amazing news. You're never going to believe what happened." And then, of course, he lets it simmer and just plays a game for 30 minutes and doesn't talk about it. And then he comes back to it, right? And he says, guys, there's a new streaming platform out there named Glimesh that is going to change the way we do streaming. And I'm so excited that they picked me to do the charity stream because I love what they're doing and I want to help support them. And that moment to me is what I hope that in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, I pick up and I remember of why I'm doing this, right? Like why this is important for me because of the community, because of the people I'm trying to empower and support, right? And I think that drives back to the ending a company with a tweet. That's not acceptable. That's not okay.
Yeah. Awesome, dude. That's fantastic.
Okay.
So Glimesh is, you'd consider right now a startup, right? Or is that not necessarily what you consider? Okay. So Glimesh is a startup, and sometimes there's a negative connotation surrounding the term startup. Why do you feel that is?
Because anyone can do it.
I'll be right back. I got to blow my nose real quick. It sounds like I've been doing coke. Give me a minute.
Well, there you go. It sounds like he's been doing coke. He didn't reject. He didn't deny it.
It sounds like.
It sounds like it. Well, it sounds. I'm gonna keep going without him.
Yeah.
I think.
All right. Thank you.
You're back. You good?
Yeah, I'm back in the fight.
All right.
I actually forgot the question, so let's go back and
startups. Why do startups have sometimes have a negative connotation around that term?
Yeah, I think it's because there is no, with a term like that, it's super generic, right? There's no immediate difference between 100 people that are successfully employed that have gone through 3 rounds of funding and like a dude in his basement starting a company, right? It's called a startup regardless of how large and small it is.
Right.
And so I think that's why, right? Because there's no filter of quality, there's no filter of expectations there.
Right.
I think honestly, I would avoid calling, Glimesh a startup. We definitely are. We're starting up. But for us, the goal right now is not to get funding, right? It's not to, hyper growth into a hockey stick of profit and revenue. Our goal right now is to create a platform and make it sustainable and let it grow, right? And so we're kind of like, we're just a business. We're just a company. We're just getting started. We're like a bakery down in your neighborhood shop, right? That's not a startup. I mean, it is, right? They're brand new, getting started, but it's just a business. It's just a bakery. So we're a streaming site. That's what we are.
That's awesome. That's good. That's good. That's a good answer, because that's the thing. Like when I hear the term startup, let me back up a little bit more about me. I used to work in higher education in the IT, and there was an entrepreneurial center, right? And so all the time you hear startup this, startup that. This speaker's coming in for about this startup or that's, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is. So maybe I'm a little jaded with that term personally. Yeah. But yeah, when I usually think of the term startup, it's usually like have the idea, either get it funded or get it off the ground, show growth, and then sell, and not really care or be invested in what your product is long term for the people that are using it.
Right. And I think that's my problem. I don't support that right now. Like I can't live in that world because that's where I'm from. That's my experience, right?
Right.
Living in a startup. My day job is in a startup. It's great. It's a great experience. It's very unique. It's thrilling to have so many people like working as hard as they can to get towards a goal. But I think about like what we're missing out there. What the human race is missing out when we're just rushing to that exit, right? That selling point, is we're not really building anything that we're proud of. We're not building anything that is what we're going to be telling our grandchildren or what we would pass on to our grandchildren, right? We're no longer making the businesses of the past. We're no longer making a family name for ourselves. We're just making $1 million so we can go buy a Ferrari.
Yeah.
So for me, that's the problem. It's like you have to be passionate about what you're doing, and you have to make quality goods that can help you and other humans, other people, right?
Yeah, that's
what
great.
I'm about.
No, that's great.
Okay,
Yeah, because
so
I mean, with that,
just
there's
for my own sanity, because we've talked about startup and the kind of negative connotation that it has in it now. And we talked earlier in the beginning of all of this, way back, an hour ago, that that this isn't the only one that's coming out right now, right? We got a couple other players, but the biggest thing that I see from just my foxhole is that you guys are actually have a community, something's in place, you guys are actually striving towards a goal, and there's actually tangible or some kind of progression that I can see. Whereas the other ones that are kind of just talking some game on Twitter or whatever, it's just that. Like, I'm not really seeing a lot come from other people other than, hey man, I got an idea, I'm going to make a streaming service. Come join it. And that's it. Like, I don't really see a whole lot happening. So I'm really excited that there's so much action taking place behind what's going on with Glimesh.
And honestly, the deal is, right, that's a competitive advantage, right? Just because we're not going to call ourselves a startup doesn't mean we're not going to try and be competitive. We're not going to try and win. For me, like, I think the most important thing is proving it, is showing what you can make and what you can do. Because right now, in a world where you do have a lot of people trying to accomplish the same goal, I think, the proof is in the pudding, right? The proof is how the sausage is made, right? And we're going to have problems. We're going to have bugs when we go launch, in how many ever weeks that is. I'm assuming that we're going to go down. Like, we're going to launch, we're going to do everything we can to stress test. And then, we'll see a cloud of smoke. Yeah. And I mean, it's fine. We'll move past it, right? Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to show that, hey, we exist, we're making a difference, and we're trying to do it in a way that is clear, upfront, and honest. We're not lying about what we're doing. We're not hiding what we're doing. We're being open about it, because then we can help manage expectations. We can help you know what you're going to get, right? And maybe it's for you and maybe it's not, right? But I think that's our competitive advantage, right? At Glimesh, it's proving it. You can go to our site right now. You can watch our FPL streams right now. We've got one that's running, we call it Glimovies, which is a 24-hour movie stream of either public domain or Creative Commons licensed movies. And you can see it in real time. You can see your chat message pop up like a quarter of a second later after you type it. And you can see it go down, right? You can see the stream break, because these things happen and we're still working on it. But it kind of puts it all out. It puts it all out there in the open, so you can form your own opinion instead of just trusting me, instead of just trusting someone, right? You can see it.
But having that kind of attitude, that's kind of like armor, in my opinion, too, right? Because if you're being upfront about it, like, hey, yeah, it's going to break. Like, so that way when it does happen, people can't be like, well, what the hell? And he'd be like, I told you it was going to break.
Like, we're making a streaming site in our basement. Like,
it's going to happen. Yeah. Like, I didn't lie.
There's things that are going to happen, right?
Right.
Instead of people like always trying to be like, oh, there's nothing to see. Like,
right.
I don't know. I take solace in that. Like, everybody owning their humanity. Like, I dig it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, during our charity stream, we were expecting to get a lot of people. And so we set up the servers. We made it like, geographically diverse. We had a server in San Francisco, in New York. We had one in London. And we set those up so, whatever you're watching the stream, you get the closest possible server. And during the charity stream, I forgot to turn two of them on the whole time. And so we were just running a charity stream off of one server. And as soon as we found out, we admitted to the mistake and we fixed it, right? And we moved past it. And I think that's, for me, that's so much easier, right, than trying to hide it or trying to cover it up, right? Just admitting your mistake and trying to figure out how you're not going to have it happen again, right? How do we put a process in place? How do we make it automated? How do we not have to worry about it?
See, yeah, I mean, and I think, an expectation is, a lot of these services still have a percentage of human error because it requires human interaction with the back end to a degree. And I think being upfront about that, hey, it's me. I have to flip the switch on these things, myself. They, no one else can do it. So, and admitting that up front and being like, hey, I own this. That was my mistake. everything's kosher now. Let's
find the next bug,
streaming.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
I think there's a lot of freedom in that, other than trying to lie,
Yeah,
or blame or shift or any of that shit. Put away the blame thrower. Just accept responsibility and move on.
Then you're getting back to it, right?
Yep. Awesome. I think that's pretty much, I mean, the majority of the questions I think we have, but anything in general you just want to give here are the top 5, top 10 things that are different about Glimesh before we wrap this up, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you've definitely heard a lot here, right? About ways we're trying to do things differently, about ways we're trying to, push the envelope. I think we're very mission driven at Glimesh. We're shooting towards a goal we want to launch in 2020. We want to set a date and hit it, but we also want to make sure that we're not overstressing our volunteers, right? We're very volunteer driven. I think the top 5 reasons, and I'm going to regret saying 5 because I won't be able to come up with exactly 5, but the top 5 reasons that you should check out Glimesh is definitely our community level. Our community, we're built by the community for the community, right? That's what we're all about, and that's what we try and really represent. We've got a streaming platform out there getting set up right now. We're doing it all in the public eye. We're trying to make sure that we're doing it right. We're not lying to anyone. We're not trying to deceive. We're not trying to cheat or steal. For me, it's about sustainability over, raking in cash. For me, it's about making sure that this is a venture that can, feed itself, right? I don't want to have to pour money into it. I don't want anyone to have to pour money into it. I want it to kind of just succeed, because I want that to be our driving motivator, right? I want sustainability to empower our ability to just work, right? Just build the streaming platform without having to tell our investors why we're not growing, at a 500x growth rate. And I think the last, because that was 5, the last one there is really just our technology. We're really pushing the envelope of live streaming. We've taken kind of what Mixer started building with FTL, and we're really trying to push that out and make it a standard on the internet for live video. No other streaming platform right now is pushing out their own streaming technology. Even Twitch is using the standard RTMP that Adobe invented for Flash Player in 2008. Like they're using technology from 2008 to power their live streams that are happening today. We're using technology that was innovated and engineered, a couple of weeks ago by one of our developers, right? And we're trying to push that forward better and use the most up-to-date technology to really make this experience great, and then see what we can do with it, right? What's next? How do we make, we were talking about right now we live in like a bubble of live video where it's just the live video and that's all there is. But we're trying to figure out ways that we can even innovate on that, right? How can we make that more compact, more accessible to others? How can we have special, special programming effects that are done to your video for your viewers? How do we make it so when you're playing horror games and you get to a jump scare that the viewer's screen flashes for a moment, or like you have a little spooky Halloween mode? How do we make this really engaging for the community? That way, it's a true experience. There's this guy on Twitch. I'm just gonna shout him out real quick. His name is the Sushi Dragon, and he does every effect in real time while using a green screen and standing off to the side. So like he's not attached to his computer. He's not hitting key bindings. He's got these like grips on his hand, and he controls live effects to move his body around to turn him into like Naruto from the anime Naruto. He will turn into robots, and he'll do all this with his hands while he's like dancing. And no one's ever thought of that before. No one's ever done that or thought of that before. So how do we enable experiences like those? How do we give him more developer APIs or tools to work with to make his streams even more interactive or engaging for his community as well? I think it's really where we're going to be really empowered, and that's where we're going to find our win.
Fantastic.
Yep.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Just again, so our viewers and listeners can can know if they want to get involved, what's the Discord? It's discord.gg/Glimesh.
Yeah, so here's the cheat code. All of our social medias are Glimesh.
Okay.
So twitter.com/Glimesh, Glimesh, discord.gg/Glimesh, Glimesh.tv, Glimesh.com, Glimesh.live, Glimesh.net. Whatever you pick your poison, it'll probably work out.
Awesome. Well, I think that's all the questions we have. Anything final, Nick, that you want to ask?
No, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the show and kind of give us the lowdown on what's going on with your service and what's happening with your community, man. I wish you guys the best of luck. I really do.
Super excited, man. And again, appreciate you taking the time for chatting with us, and hopefully you'll be able to enjoy the rest of your weekend. Maybe go eat some sandwiches with fries on them or something. But yeah, that's going to do it for us. Thank you, Luke. Appreciate it. And thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.